Hello students, welcome back to my YouTube channel Civil Edu Next. Myself Maitri Dave, Assistant Professor at LJIET Institute of Engineering and Technology. Today we are going to discuss about advancement in civil engineering. So let us begin our lecture number 3 for that, right? So first we have to discuss what we have learned in previous lecture. So in previous lecture we have discussed the mass transport system, the concept of BRTS and metro in detail. Now let us discuss that what we are going to do in today's lecture. So we are going to discuss our first topic as a solid waste management. Then we will see the rainwater harvesting system. And lastly, we will see the concept of watershed management, right? So without wasting much time, let's start with the solid waste management, right? So here, to understand solid waste management, first we have to understand the concept. It means the introduction. Then we will see some definition of important terms. Then we will see the classification and the effect of solid waste. And lastly, the quality and composition as well as what are the steps that required for this solid waste management, right? So let us begin with the introduction first. So for solid waste management, I can say that uncontrolled pollution which destroy the ecosystem and the process is irrecoverable, right? So the goal of solid waste management is to minimize hazards to environment due to indiscriminate disposal of solid waste, right? So based on the knowledge of solid waste generation, characteristics and treatment methods, certain materials can be recovered or reused and electrical energy can be generated, right? So this is all about the introduction. Now let us see the definition of important terms. So here I can say the first definition is known as refuse. Now what is refuse? So simply it includes all kind of waste in solid state excepting excreta coming from residential, commercial and industrial areas, right? Now the second term is the house refuse. It means this consists of vegetable waste, ash, cinders, rubbish, debris from cleaning or even animal waste matters or the debris from demolition of structures are the part of this house refuse, right? The next term is the street refuse. It means it consists of street sweeping, tree leaves, empty packets, empty matches box or fruit peels, etc. considered as a street refuse, right? And lastly, the trade refuse. It means it consists of solid waste from industrial factories, businesses and commercial centers, right? So these are the refuse, house refuse, street and trade refuse. Now let us understand the concept of garbage. It means all type of putrescribed organic matter or the waste obtained from kitchen, hotel, restaurants, etc. in the form of waste food articles, peeling of vegetables, fruits, etc. are considered to be part of this. It also includes animals' dung, grass, leaves and bird excreta, right? It normally weighs from 450 to 900 kg per meter cube. Now, let us see the next term which is ashes. It means ashes are incombustible waste produce obtained from houses, industries, hearth and furnaces, right? So, it weighs from 700 to 800 kg per meter cube. And lastly, the concept of rubbish is still there. It means all non-prescribed waste except ashes are known as the rubbish. So it includes a wide variety of combustible and non-combustible wastes such as rags, paper pieces, broken piece of glass, paper packets, glass, etc. Even it is higher and its weight varies from 50 to 400 kg per meter cube. So here these three terms are very important, right? Now, let us understand the classification of solid waste. So here for classification of solid waste, I can say it is bifurcated as two types. First is based on place where it is generated and second is depending upon the characteristics of various ingredients. First let us see the classification based on the place where it is generated. So here on screen you can see it is classified as domestic, industrial and commercial, which is very understandable, right? Now, if I talk about the depending upon characteristics of various ingredients, it means I am talking about the organic waste, then it includes dry animal and vegetable refuse, cow dung, bird excreta, tree leaves, etc. Right? And if I talk about the inorganic waste, it means it includes the grit, dust, mud, metal piece, metal containers, broken glass and many things, right? So this is non-combustible. So here you have understand the classification of solid waste, right? Now let us move to the effect of solid waste. So here for this I can say the effects in which the solid waste changes properties of soil, air and water causing pollution is one of the major effect, right? Even the solid waste produces foul smell, breeds insects and organisms. Even it leads to spread of many diseases, infections, etc. affecting human and animal population, right? Even harmful chemicals are released into the environment. So these all are the effect of solid waste, right? Now let us move to the next topic, which is quality and composition of refuse. So here I can say it varies from place to place and it also varies from season to season. So refuse produced by a society depend upon the living standard of its residents. The quantity of garbage depend on the food available, food habits and standards of living, right? So it also depends upon whether the town is residential, commercial or industrial. So here the unit weight is in range of 300 to 600 kg per meter cube and the calorific values has a range of 1200 to 1800 kilocalorie per kg, right? So here on screen you can see a table in which the garbage, rubbish, dust and silt and the ashes have the average composition percentage by weight at disposable site is represented as 50 to 55, 10 to 15, 20 to 25 and lastly 10 to 15 accordingly, right? So this is the concept of quality composition of refuse, right? Now let us move to the last and most important topic, which is steps for solid waste management. So here we have to follow 3 steps, in which the first one is the collection and the removal of refuse. So I can say nowadays it is collected by door-to-door services provided by the municipalities. Sometimes even the public dustbins are provided by municipalities at convenient places by the sides of road, right? And after collecting, I have to go for the transport of refuse. It means what? So the refuse collected in the public masonry chambers or a big public containers or cans is transported to the disposal site by the means of following vehicles. Like the first one is the auto rickshaw having the capacity of 0.5 to 0.75 tons. Even the trailers having the capacity of 2 to 3 tons. And lastly the trucks which have the capacity of 5 to 10 tons. According to requirement, we choose the means through which we want to transport it, right? So this is all about transport of refuse. Now let us see the disposal of solid waste or the refuse. So for that, here basically 5 methods are there, in which first one is the composting, second is the landfilling in low-lying area, third is the incineration, fourth is the pyrolysis and fifth is the pulverization. So here let us discuss the first one, composting. So here I can say for composting, it is a controlled biological decomposition of organic matter such as food and yard wastage into humus, right? It is the natural process of rotting or decomposition of organic matter by microorganisms under controlled conditions, right? It can be anaerobic or aerobic, right? This process takes generally 4 to 6 weeks. Even the end product of composting process is called compost, which is rich fertilizer. Even there are some advantages like it provides nutrients to the soil, increase the beneficial soil organism, protects soil from erosion and assist pollution remediation, right? So this is all about composting. Now let us see the second method, which is landfilling on low-lying area. So for that, a landfill site is a site for the disposal of waste materials by burial and is the oldest form of waste treatment, right? So here the waste is directly dumped into mining voids or borrow pits. Disposed waste is compacted and covered with soil, right? So the gases generated by the decomposition waste material are often burned to generate power, right? Even there are three methods in which the first is the trench method, second is the area method, and lastly the ramp method. Let us discuss all. So here for trench method I can say it consists of an excavated trench into which the solid wastes are sprayed and compacted and covered, right? It is the best suited for nearly level land where the waste table is not near the surface, right? Now, if I want to talk about the area method, so it is the best suited for flat or gently sloped areas where some land depressions may exist. The wastes are sprayed, compacted and then covered. Lastly, we will see the ramp method. It means what? It is also known as the depression method, where the slope or the ramp is sometimes used in combination with the other two methods. It means the wastes are sprayed on the existing slope, compacted and converted, right? So this is all about land filling, low lying areas 3 method. Now let us see the advantages. Here, this method is very simple. There is no costly plant requirements. Separation of different components is not required. No residue or byproduct needs to be disposed. Even low laying area and land can be reclaimed through this method, right? And as I have said, some disadvantages are also there for any method. So proper dumping site may not be available. Even the large land area are required. Odor problem is created in the close vicinity of site. Use of insecticides is required. Even earth has to be borrowed from other places for earth layers, and landfills can pollute air, water and also the soil, right? So these are the disadvantages. So this is all for the land filling. Now let us move to the next term, which is incineration. Now what is incineration? So here this is a waste management technology that involves the combustion of organic materials or substances, right? It is carried out at high temperature. Even the waste materials is converted into ash, flue gases and particulates and heats. Even there are various types of incinerations are there, like moving grade, fixed grade, fluidized bed and rotary kiln, right? Now there are some advantages, like it is mostly hygienic method. It complete destruction of pathogens, no odor trouble. Heat generated may be used for raising steam power. Even the clinkers produced may be used for road construction. Less space is required. Adverse weather condition has no effect, right? And there are some disadvantages, like large initial expenses required. Even the care and attention required. Otherwise, incomplete combustion will increase the air pollution. Residues are required to be disposed, which needs money. Large number of vehicles required for solid waste transport to the site of incineration, right? So this is the concept of incineration. Now let us move to the fourth method, which is pyrolysis. Now what is pyrolysis? So pyrolysis is a thermochemical decomposition of organic material at elevated temperature in the absence of oxygen, right? So here it is carried out at a temperature between 500 degrees Celsius to 1000 degrees Celsius, where it involves the simultaneous change of chemical composition and physical phase and is irreversible. It means the external heat source is employed, right? So it yields gaseous, liquid and solid fraction. So this is all about pyrolysis method. Now let us move to the last method, which is pulverization method. So here for pulverization, I can say in this method, the dry refuse is pulverized into powder form without changing its chemical form, right? In this method, the refuse disposal refuse is pulverized in grinding machine so as to reduce its volume and to change its physical character, right? So the grinded or pulverized refuse becomes practically odorless and unattractive to the insects. So the powder can either be used as a poor quality manure or else be disposed by landfilling, right? So the method is quite costly and hence not commonly used in India, right? So this is all about pulverization. So these all are the methods for disposal of refuse, right? So these steps in which the disposal of solid waste are very important. So this is all about the solid waste management. So for today's lecture, we have learned solid waste management in detail. Now let us move to the second topic, rainwater harvesting, right? So for rainwater harvesting, the first question that comes in our mind, that is, what is rainwater harvesting? What are the benefits and what are the systems available for that, right? So let us see the introduction of rainwater harvesting. So here I can say in semi-arid and arid region, both the surface water and the groundwater are scarce. So the attempts are made in these regions to collect and preserve rainwater to the maximum possible extent, right? So this collection of rainwater is called water harvesting, which is defined as collection of rainwater and runoff primarily for irrigation, human and livestock consumption, right? Rainwater harvesting is the accumulating and storing of rainwater for reuse before it reaches the aquifer, right? Now, let us see the benefits of rainwater harvesting. So here I can say this increasing the water availability as well as check the declining water table and augment groundwater table. It is environmentally friendly. It improves the quality of groundwater. It prevents the soil erosion and flooding, especially in the urban areas. Surface water runoff conservation during monsoon. It includes a culture of water conservation, right? So these all are the benefits of rainwater harvesting. Now let us see the most important topic, which is rainwater harvesting systems. So here for that I can say there are four methods, in which first one is the rainwater collection. It means the rooftop rainwater harvesting. Second is runoff collection. It means surface runoff harvesting. Third one is the recharge to groundwater, and lastly we will see the runoff enhancement. So now let us see rainwater collection, rooftop rainwater harvesting. So here let us see the introduction of it, then what is the need for this system, and lastly we will see the components, right? So let us see the introduction of rooftop rainwater harvesting first. So here I can say it is the technique through which the rainwater is captured from the roof catchment and stored in the subsurface groundwater reservoir, right? So the main objective is to make water available for all future use, right? So the quality of harvest rainwater is usually clean following proper installation and maintenance, right? So the effective roof area and the material used in reconstructing the roof largely influence the efficiency of water quality. So this is the introduction. Now let us see the need of rooftop rainwater harvesting. So here I can say to meet the ever increasing demand for water, we have to go for this kind of harvesting. Even to reduce the runoff, which is chalked strong drains, right? To avoid flooding of roads, to augmented groundwater strong and control decline of water levels, even to reduce groundwater pollution, right? It also improve the quality of groundwater. It also reduce the soil erosion and to supplement domestic water requirement during summer, right? So we have to use this for reducing the cost for pumping of groundwater also. So these all are the need of rainwater harvesting. Now let us move to the component of rooftop rainwater harvesting. So here you can see one figure on screen and its component, where the first component is all about collection. It means the catchment area. So here you can see on figure that catchment or collection area is there. Then you have to go for the conveyance system, which consisting of pipes and gutter. It means after collecting the water, that should be transmitted through some elements like pipes or the gutters. Here on screen you can see the gutter. Gutter is the area in which the water can be stored and transported, right? Then after transmitted that water, we have to provide some basic and the fundamental storage facility. It can be a underground system or a tank on a surface, right? So a storage facility should be there. And lastly, the delivery system consisting of a tap or a pump. Means after storing that water, we have to provide facility to utilize that water, right? So these all are the component of rooftop rainwater harvesting. Now, let us move to the second method, which is known as the runoff collection, which is the surface runoff harvesting. So here I can say storage of rainwater on surface is the traditional technique, and structures used are as a small dams, tanks, etc. Right? So here on screen you can see that various components are there for storing the water. So I can say the components are like digging wells, ponds and reservoirs, or even the storage tank or reservoir, right? So this is the concept of surface runoff harvesting, where this measures the improve the groundwater recharge as well as the quality of available groundwater, right? So this is all for surface runoff collection. Now let us move to the recharge to groundwater. So here it is a new concept of rainwater harvesting, right? Where different structures are used like pits, trenches, dug wells, hand pumps, recharge wells, lateral shaft with bore walls, spreading techniques and underground reservoir, right? So this is all for recharge to groundwater. Now see what is the runoff enhancement. So here I can say the recent studies have shown that under favorable conditions, on an average about 10% increase in precipitation can be expected by this technique, right? So the weather modification can be done to increase the precipitation or the decrease evapotranspiration. So that concept is known as the runoff enhancement, right? So here the term cloud seeding comes in picture, where cloud seeding is generally done to increase precipitation. It means the rainfall, which ultimately increase the runoff, right? So that is why this method is known as the runoff enhancement, right? So it has estimated that the precipitation can be increased by about 10% by the cloud seeding, right? So this is all about runoff enhancement, and these all are the techniques which are very important for rainwater harvesting system. So in rainwater harvesting, we have seen the introduction, benefit and its systems, right? So this is all for the rainwater harvesting system. Now let us move to the last topic, which is watershed management. So here first we have to understand the introduction. It means what is watershed, right? So we can say it is the area of land from which drains into a water body like streams, rivers, lake or reservoir. It is also known as the drainage basin or catchment area. It is an area surrounded by a ridge line, right? So that is the concept of watershed. Now let us understand the characteristics of watershed and the watershed management in detail. So let us discuss first the characteristics of watershed. Here the first characteristics is all about size. So here on screen you can see the sub-watershed. It means having the capacity of 100 to 500 square kilometer. Micro watersheds having the capacity of 1 to 10 square kilometer, and mini watersheds having the capacity less than 1 square kilometer, right? So this is all about size. Now the second characteristics is all about shape. It means various shapes of watersheds can be fan shape, fawn leaf shape or triangular or circulation, where the shape of watershed affects the runoff characteristics, right? The third term is the slope. It means the degree of slope affects the velocity of surface runoff, infiltration rate and the soil erosion, right? The next is the fourth one, which is vegetation. It means the vegetation cover affects the surface runoff and infiltration rate, right? The next is all about the land use, where the land use pattern is useful for planning, programming and implementing the watershed development projects, right? The next sixth one is all about climate, where the meteorological parameters like rainfall, temperature, humidity, wind velocity in the watershed area determines the availability of water in the area, right? Lastly, the seventh characteristics is all about geology and the soil. It means the rocks and the soil types affect the water storage, movement and the infiltration, right? So these all are the characteristics of watershed that one should know, right? Now, let us understand the most important term, which is watershed management, in which we are going to discuss the introduction part, the objective of watershed management and lastly the components, right? So let us understand first the introduction of watershed management. So here the watershed development in a broad sense implies conservation and development of land, rainfall water and vegetation resources of the area for the maximum benefit of the people, right? Even the comprehensive development of a watershed so as to make productive use of all natural resources and also protect them in terms of watershed management, right? And lastly, the watershed management is not only anti-erosional or anti-runoff approach but also a comprehensive integrated approach of land and water resources management, right? So this is the introduction of watershed management. Now let us see the objective of watershed management. So here I can say the conserving of soil and water can be done. Even we can grow greeneries. Even we can control the desertification. Even to mitigate the adverse effect of drought on crops and livestock can be possible. Improving the ability of land to hold the water, right? To encourage restoration of ecological balance, right? To promote economic development of village communities. So here you can see these all are the very important objective for watershed management to balance our ecosystem, right? So these are the very important terms. Now, what are the components of watershed management? So here the first component is all about the water management. It means the water management is the science for the proper utilization of water by the cultivators, right? Here various methods for water conservation are used, in which first one is the reservoir management, where we can say which includes the methods of reducing percolation losses, right? Even we can reduce the conveyance losses by proper lining of canal, right? Applications of right amount of water to the land to meet the water requirement of crops. Even constructing small check dams across the tributaries of a river to increase the groundwater storage. And lastly, new techniques should be developed for several disposal to reduce water consumption. So this is all about water management. Now let us understand the soil and land management. So here the soil conservation method should be adopted in the catchment area. So the soil erosion can be decreased by intercepting the erosive power of rain and wind with a vegetation cover, decreasing slope of the land, increasing roughness of the land surface by different tilting operations, right? Even the agricultural land should be properly labeled to obtain uniform growth of plants with optimum quantity of water, where the deep ploughing by tractors is much effective in retaining water to get maximum yield with optimum supply of water can be possible, right? Even lastly, I can say the earth burn should be constructed around farms to retain water and to reduce runoff. So this is all about soil and land management. The third topic is all about human resources development. It means what? The NGO staff, village watershed committees and watershed communities must be trained technical, social and managerial capacities, right? Fourth one is all about afforestation. It means tree plantation in wasteland restricted area must be carried out, which measures to be taken to control tree cutting and forest fire should be introduced, right? So this is all about afforestation. Next is the crop management, where it should be practiced for maintaining the fertility of the land for obtaining maximum yield with minimum water supply, right? Next is the livestock management, where the livestock population in the watershed comprises cows, bullocks, buffaloes, sheep, goats and camels, where the cows, buffaloes and camels are treated as the large livestock and rest all are considered as the small one, right? Last component for this is the rural energy management, where the prevention of local environment degradation by replacing the traditional fuel sources by renewable energy sources should be used, right? So these all are the component of watershed management, right? So here in watershed management, you have understand these three terms which are of watershed management, right? So in today's lecture, we have understand the solid waste management, rainwater harvesting and watershed management. I hope you understand all these three terms in detail, right? See you soon in the next lecture. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe my YouTube channel Civil Edu Next.